Guys, listen, I was actually finishing up for the day and I just saw on my timeline that Abba and Preach uploaded a video entitled "Slavery Wasn't That Bad" at JustPearlyThings gets destroyed by H3H3. Now, I will say this before I get started into this content is that over the past several weeks, I've been really busy with everything going on with my father, and I missed certain beefs and things happening and be able to give you guys commentary on the Fresh and Fit versus Abba and Preach. And then I saw that H3H3 completely eviscerated Just Modern Woman Things, so I wanted to give you guys my perspective based off of Abba and Preach's videos. So without further ado,
let me just ask you generally, like, what kind of messages are you sharing on your platform? What kind of important messages is it that you find yourself are about?
I believe in family, so I think that we should have policies that push family. I think that feminism overall was a bad thing. I think women are happier when we have, you know, a family and kids over a career in the long run. Yeah. Sorry, I'm a little nervous.
It's okay.
Was that all that she said, or was that edited?
Yeah, I understand.
You should be. You should be. Soft-spoken Ethan starting off. Well, tell us about your reviews. As if he doesn't have a full-page document going, dumb bitch, dumb bitch, dumb bitch, dumb bitch, dumb bitch. Page number 2, dumb bitch. And to be honest, you could write a whole book about how much of a dumb, you know, but anyways.
This motherfucker gonna obliterate you. Just because it's you're easily obliterable.
So it's more like, yeah, traditional. You want people to kind of follow a more traditional path in terms of family and gender and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, well, and you just see the negative like outcomes a society has when like families fall apart, right? And it's especially hard on the children. Like you see, the kids are more likely to go to.
Listen, I know.
Yeah, so one of the biggest criticisms of her is that a lot of things that she says is not experienced, even experienced through people within her life. It's literally just all factual stuff. So when she says about the children, and then she doesn't have an anecdotal example, sometimes what that can do, although I tell you guys to always reference the data points, but it's clear here what she's doing. She's taking the talking points from everyone else that has created the talking points and disseminating them as if it's a real experience, which is why I think in this conversation she got obliterated, to Preach's words, so hard, because she couldn't substantiate any of the things that she's learned and transition it into an eloquent directive or eloquent advice. Let's keep going.
Oh, Rihanna said, diamonds shine bright, but this forehead is glistening. And as a fellow Ethiopian, I just want to say, Pearl, you might be white, but that forehead's one of mine. You feel me? You know, it's just nice to see it on the big screen.
So how do you push a policy that promotes family? Like, in what way can you force a family to stay together or encourage it in a sense?
He's asking good questions.
Well, I think you first have to get rid of incentives that incentivize like women to leave families. So like, you know, for example, child support, alimony, I'm not really a fan of those.
Okay. 90% of divorces don't involve alimony. Okay. There's no alimony for like 90% of people. That is for a select few. So just get that out of the way.
Actually, I think we should ban divorce too. Yeah, I think that should be banned. I would say ban divorce.
So banning divorce means that when you decide to get married, you are not allowed by the government to leave your significant other in any situation.
Yeah, I just think that if you want to leave, you just shouldn't get married.
If you're saying you're not allowed to get divorced, so we're talking about like, what if the relationship is physically abusive?
Yeah, I think if it's physically, this is the problem though. All right, if it's one-sided physically abusive, okay, fine, divorce. We can allow divorce for those exceptions, but like I've even talked to people that work at like abuse centers, and they say that the majority of abuse is mutual. So it's not just one side's hitting the other; it's like mutual. So
surely that's not every time.
I think.
Yeah, if it's mutual, both should think about leaving or divorcing. And I think like this banning divorce, I don't agree with banning divorce, but there is a point to be said there that there's people who get married and they're thinking in the back of my head, yeah, I could just get divorced at the end of the day. I got a homegirl of mine whose exact thought was that. And as soon as I heard that, I thought to myself, okay, you're going to be nothing but for the streets activity because of the crazy ass modern woman feminist mindset that you have right now.
Who cares if it's mutual? Why does that even matter? If it's mutual, both of you should be trying to get a divorce.
Yeah, that's my point.
What you think, like, well, listen, yeah, you know, if it's one-sided, get it, but if it's mutual, figure it out. Excuse me? No. If you guys are beating on each other, you might need to just actually call it quits. Do you think it's a good idea to raise a kid in an environment where parents beat on each other regularly and violence is their first instinct? Why is this even like a rebuttal?
And the thing that in trauma centers, they say that it's mutual. They don't exactly say that it's mutual. There's a nuance there, but
what's the nuance?
The nuance is that actually the person that is getting beaten up, the victim, let's just say, actually has some patterns of violence as well. It doesn't mean that she's the person that is most physical or he's the person that is most physical or whatever, but they do engage in that. It's not equal, but they do engage in that. That's just a nuance. But
family violence was the cause of 25% of divorces. So I don't think it's fair to characterize that as some kind of like super fringe example of why people get divorced.
Well, but you also have to look at, there's incentive structures in place where there's a lot of false accusations in family court. And a lot of people don't know this, that family court is actually based off, it's not based off of evidence, it's based off a balance of probabilities.
Family court is not based off evidence, it's based off balance of probability. What do you think balance of probability is based off?
Off the evidence.
Evidence. Is the burden of proof lower in family court? Sure. Doesn't mean that you don't need evidence. You can't just come in and say, oh, he beats me, and have no evidence. You have to document stuff. You have to go to the police. You have to have reports. You have to have medical documentation. You can't just go to court and say something happened, and then all of a sudden the courts believe you. That's not the way it works. They're going to need phone records, text messages, emails. Why do you think when people go through divorces, they make such an effort to keep records of conversations, of dates, affidavits, witness testimony? Why? Because the balance of probability is based off of that evidence.
Yeah.
What I think Abba fails to realize, and maybe this is because he's a Canadian citizen, is maybe a little bit different up there, is that within America, men generally have the burden of guilty until proven innocent. Irrespective of the balance of probabilities, there's an air of being a man which can weigh a jury, which can weigh the judge, whether male or female. For this example, Amber Heard and Johnny Depp. She ruined his life, getting him removed from screenplays. And it turned out after all of that, she was the abuser. You see, media picked up that story because they love the story of the woman busting out of her cocoon to be strong enough to come out with the allegations, the Me Too. There's this air within American media that we cannot currently circumvent, and a lot of people today actually refer to that as the Matrix. But let's keep going.
I have to show them.
She just doesn't know what she's talking about. She's saying things that she's read online, but she doesn't even know the words she's using.
Ban divorce except for one-sided abuse.
Okay, sure. Except for one-sided abuse. And is there going to be a system to kind of, how do you prove that the woman or man?
Well, I think you have to press charges in criminal court, not family court.
So only if your significant other is tried criminally are you allowed to leave the relationship. Yes. Tried and found guilty criminally.
Yes, yes.
You know what's so funny is like, and you gotta go through a lengthy court case that lasts years before they can finally get divorced from their partners. During that whole period, they have access to all kinds of things when it comes to each other. Just know.
It comes down to the fact that she hasn't experienced much, which is fine, but she thinks she knows a lot. So she goes, yeah, just do that. Just do that. Like it's a just thing. Sure. Like it's a just do that thing. It's not a just do that thing. Well, yeah, if they just go to court and do this and that, like if it was nothing. She, all the time that she opens her mouth, it's always like, yeah, well, it's really simple. But she hasn't looked into it, or she just plainly doesn't know. And she keeps on saying stuff like that.
You know what it is that I think that due to her lack of experience with life itself, and which clearly documented the way that she handles these situations, was the reason I distanced myself from her, because of her extreme recklessness, which If you think about it, think about all the content creators that came out in support of her and her bullshit now are quiet as she gets eviscerated even more and exposed even more for her grifting ways. But if you think about it, she's taken all of these talking points from all of these content creators. So when the questions of the words go outside of the content, it's like you're talking to the broadside of a barn. Instead of saying, I don't know, I'll do some research on that, it's blank stare or stupid response. So what is that? I don't know. I think it might be masculine ego. Let's keep going.
Here's the thing. She's basically telling people you get your ass beat, which I think like 20 to 25% of all marriage divorces are actually citing reasons of abusing them. So yeah, when she says this stuff, she's basically handcuffing people to dynamics in which if they don't take the father of their kids or the mother of their kids to court and send them to jail, they cannot leave. Do you know how many people are going to have to stay in relationships because of that? Do you know how conflicting it must be to marry somebody, to be in love with them, to find out they beat you every day? And now you got to go through the process of sending them to jail, fucking up your kid's life, fucking up your own life, going through the trauma of having to take someone to court and testify and sit in. That's a lot.
Here's why I disagree with Abba in that situation. 9 times out of 10, and I don't have any data to support this, you're not just finding yourself in a marriage with an abusive person. You just missed out on the red flags. See, it's not a if then that. It was a if, and you noticed some bullshit was amiss, and you said fuck it, and you went into that marriage with that degree and level of toxicity. If that's your particular case, and if it's not a one-sided thing.
But you don't think about all those minute details when you're going through this process. Sometimes it's just better for the two people to just go their separate ways. Not everybody wants to go through the process of pressing charges and going through the whole thing.
And when you say that, their out is, yeah, well, then you should have married the person in the first place. Like, there's no talking to these people.
No.
There's no logic talking with these people.
They don't understand that people change over time. Like, not everybody goes into a marriage as things are fine, then things don't change afterwards. Like, people change. And just because that thing comes out later, you didn't see the foresight, doesn't mean you should be locked into a relationship where you get beat by your partners. I want you guys to think about what you're advocating. You see your parents, one of your parents should stay getting beat by the other every day, and you should witness your parents get their ass beat because they chose to marry the wrong person. That's what y'all really saying. Y'all willing to let your moms or your dads get beat up by their partner, show up abuse, and potentially even die one day, because a lot of this stuff does lead to death, right?
No, that's not what we're saying.
Because they chose the wrong person. If you guys really can look at your parents and say they should stay through that kind of situation, kudos to you. I could never.
I understand, but again, we're removing the accountability of the choice to get in a relationship with that person. Take me, for example. I'm never going to transition into beating a woman in a relationship. There's certain types of men, there's certain types of people that would never transition into doing stuff like that. However, there's certain other types that would, and there's certain women that we get in a relationship with. That's why I tell these guys ad nauseum, if she's play fighting and hitting you and you don't check her, and this is like something that she does, more often than not, that will transition into a for real fight from her physical in nature into the future or even into the marriage. You have to be able to look at the key indicators and the red flags regarding these people within these relationships. And all we're saying is, well, what I'm saying is, because I don't ride for that pearly bullshit, all I'm saying is that where is the accountability from the person that is making the decision? Where's the accountability for that? I agree, though, at the point that the parents are married and that's your mother and your father, okay, she chose incorrectly, but let's not play like it wasn't something that she didn't recognize earlier within that relationship.
I would tell my mom to get 100 divorces before she even took one single punch to the face. Y'all would condemn somebody for life to that? Y'all built different than me.
No, man, tough it out.
Y'all built different than me.
Tell your mama to tough it out.
Yeah.
She can work through
The
it.
only people who I know would say this kind of goofy shit are dudes who probably have the plans of beating their partners, to be honest with you.
Or people that haven't.
Like MLD, who be beating women. That's the only people I say. Or goofy women who want to make money off goofy red pill people.
But I was quoting a Thomas Sowell book.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Okay.
Who's that?
Yeah, so Thomas Sowell is an author who talks about the history of slavery. So.
So do you agree with that premise that slavery was embellished, or no?
I think that there are parts that are under embellished and there are parts that are over embellished. I think it just depends what we're talking about.
That's so interesting. I've got to know what
Please
was
tell
over
us
embellished about slavery.
Tell us all, please.
No! Oh, that's a trap.
You know what it felt like? You know what this felt like?
That's you.
You know what this felt like? This is like Ethan was like, I know what white people can't say. Now say it. See that made my trap card. See how excited he is? Tell me what you don't like about blacks.
Just like one example, I'm dying to know.
Oh no.
Yeah, I just rather. I mean, I was talking about a book that I read, and I think to understand the context, you'd have to read the book.
But you just said some parts were embellished, some parts were embellished.
I just
Are
again.
you retracting that?
I'd really just
No,
rather not.
Okay.
He told what he's doing. He know.
He said,
Yo!
cross it, bitch. Why you stutter? He said it's over embellished. Go ahead and say what cards.
Go ahead, cross it.
No, but slavery being embellished, that's so interesting. I don't know how you embellish it.
There are certain facts that we're not allowed to talk about.
Like what? I would love to. We're doing the taboo.
No,
We're mixing it up. It's red pill, baby.
Hey, yeah, shout out to Ethan on this one. This one's funny.
Yo, he's trying.
Taboo topics.
I genuinely want to know how it was embellished.
Yeah.
What can't we talk about? Come on.
I mean, I could show you.
Oh no!
Come on, cancel yourself. Come on, do it.
Rather not.
Yo, he's definitely thinking to himself, I gotta get this viral clip. The thing is that she'd rather not because she knows it was a shitty take. Like, that's really it. That's just it. She knows it was a shitty take. Right? But it just goes to show someone who takes all of this information in from all of these content creators and then transition it into be talking points within her own platform. Someone who takes written down questions from other content creators and then uses it a part of her interview section within her show. She takes different things that she believes into from a grifting perspective in order to be able to make money off of it. And then she has some other beliefs that have cropped up within her life, which she affixed to this one writer, right? And said, oh, fuck all this other shit that's out there. I'm gonna take this one writer and implement that because it already fits my bias for the things that I believe already. And that's the thing, is what I tell you guys, the most dangerous question that you can ask somebody is to explain themselves or simply just to ask why. Why is it that you believe in that? Why is it that you think about that? If it was under-embellished and over-embellished, can you please go over the over-embellished parts? Please. But see, she said it. No one else said that she said it. It wasn't hearsay. She said it. So is it bad faith to be bringing up something that you said? Oh, okay.
Not get into this, so.
Sounds like a blue pill attitude to me.
This motherfucker bad. This motherfucker bad.
Beta girl.
Yeah, I was kind of hoping this was like a good faith interview.
Oh,
What's that
shut
thing?
up.
I'm literally showing you clips of
She's-
you saying stuff.
Yeah,
She didn't just try to Karen her way out of it, did she?
yeah.
Wait, hold on. I'm sorry. What about this interview has been bad faith?
Good question.
I just think you're kind of trying to push an agenda, and you're not. Yeah, I just think you're trying to.
So that's always the fail-safe, okay? It's the reaction channels. Oh, they take things up out of context. It's in-person interviews. I think that you're trying to push an agenda. It's so crazy to me because we look at this content, which obviously is a benefit to men. Obviously, it's been a benefit, and it's pushing the mainstream narrative. But what we're starting to see right now is that the less dim of us who have made it to a certain plateau are utilizing these other talking points in order to try to distract you from the bullshit that's happening. It's exactly what we see happening in this particular clip right here. But let's move on.
That's a clip of you saying that.
Yeah, you're
Because
saying
I
it.
was talking about how the founder of the Thomas Sowell talks about how the guy that made Roots talked about how it was a myth for his people to live by.
Okay.
That's what the guy who made Roots said, Alex Haley.
Okay.
So, and I can't even talk about that on a podcast without being canceled by the internet.
Yeah, but
No, it's because you took what he said out of context. A myth doesn't mean that the entire thing is not true or parts of it are embellished. And in fact, it's clear that so many of it, the acts of slavery, weren't even included into Disney, into these movies, into these written or theatrical works of art. It's so clear that so many of that shit was not put into it, so they can give it not an NC-17 rating, but a rated R rating.
Mythology.
Okay, just because the story that he told himself with the movie of Roots isn't real does not mean the things depicted in there didn't happen. That doesn't mean that that was embellished, okay? The reality of slavery was far darker than the Roots movie could have ever shown. That's just a fact.
Just because mythology is like culture,
right, but I'm
history.
saying that doesn't mean that the way it's depicted in the movie was how it actually happened. And that's what he was talking about on the book. But again, I was quoting a book, and you're trying to like pin me down on quoting a book.
Let me watch this again and see if I'm doing that.
Stuff too, because that's literally the founder of, or the guy who made Roots said I wanted a myth for my people to live by. Yeah. So they often, but that's what they do. Is they embellish.
So then you say, but here's what they do.
And I'm not trying to say it wasn't horrible.
I'm not trying to say it wasn't horrible.
Right, but they want to make it like more horrible.
But they want to make it more horrible.
That they can control people.
So that they can control people.
Right, but
Nick Fuentes agrees.
But wait.
I mean, she brought him on. She got to eat that. Let's keep watching.
Wait, oh my gosh. 5 minutes before I say Sowell talks about this in his book. So I'm communicating in the interview that I'm quoting an author.
You're not being honest.
Like,
you say they do this to. Okay, so you disavow. Just disavow it then. That's easy. Just say I don't think slavery was embellished. I mean, that's super easy. That's like a layup. Do you agree? You know what I mean? It's like just say you don't think slavery was embellished.
I think there are certain facts that you're not allowed to talk about. I don't really want to talk about it.
Well, I'm just asking you, do you agree with that statement? Barack Obama is comparable to Adolf Hitler.
No.
Okay. See, it's not hard. It's not
hard. You can do yes or no.
That's awesome. That's easy to do.
T for the claps. T for the claps. T for the claps.
She's clapping her right now. She getting claps.
You also said George Washington was viewed from his slaves like a father. I guess that's part of what the myth, I guess, is that not all slave owners were evil. Some were father figures like George Washington.
Oh, God. That was it? Oh.
Y'all's editing is crazy. Y'all's editing is crazy. I just have to think, Pearl's got to be one of the dumbest fucking people on the planet to go on the HD podcast and think this shit was not going to come up.
Did you say that?
Oh, wow.
I think, like, if someone's a great and powerful man in history to the point, like, they're talking about him hundreds of years later, he didn't have any kids, but...
Did he own slaves?
What?
Did he own slaves? George Washington?
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, no romance to me. I'm just saying.
No, it's actually interesting. He had a different, like, he inherited his slaves, and it wasn't as simple as he could have just, like, let them go, because the debt that's incurred on them, like, you can't just release them. And so his slaves actually, like, he had a really good relationship with them, and they considered him like a dad. Mm-hmm.
What's your source for that?
That was from a Thomas Sowell book.
Same guy.
Thomas Sowell. So he's your guy. Thomas Sowell's the man.
There was a time where I started to read accounts from actual slaves. So these were like, in like and you know, I can't really talk about this. Like, even if I talk about this now, they're going to clip it. They're going to say things I didn't say.
That doesn't,
I used to read actual slave accounts, and I was surprised how many didn't say bad things about their owners after they were free.
No, she just didn't say that. No way.
Play the thing.
You guys never heard of Stockholm Syndrome?
Yo, how ridiculous do you have to be?
People who are held captive start developing a very sympathetic, empathetic relationship with their captor.
See, in order to fit her narrow view of the world from the very manicured background that she's came from, right, in an attempt to achieve the financial stability of her parents, she's doing exactly what she accuses other people of, which is taking snippets or portions of other people's arguments and instituting those within her talking points that fit within her general bias. What I think is really funny about this whole thing is where are all the content creators that used to support her through and through? After you've seen mistake after mistake after mistake, they're now silent. Just like I said, the degree of recklessness is ridiculous. But I get it at the end of the day because I was convinced that, you know, everything was copacetic before I went over there to London. You know what I'm saying?
Because of the trauma that's inflicted upon them mentally. This girl's really trying to sit here and say, like, yo, a lot of slaves actually love their masters. Because in a really fucked up psychological way, they had to learn to be able to endure.
To be able to survive. You know, the thing that you want to do for a beat-up woman in their relationship, endure. Alright.
Do you know how many people feel the same way about the men who groomed them when they were underage? Do you think children, just because of the fact that when they got free from their pedo captors, still had a sympathetic bond, that made that relationship okay or any less worse? What if a 10-year-old falls in love with an adult, grapes them all the time, and says good things about them, that we shouldn't see the adult as evil as anybody else? Sometimes when I hear these people speak, I think they just hear whatever information confirms what they want to believe, and then they just go with that.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened.
Oh, he was a good slave master.
And it's not to say, like, slavery was a horrible institution, but I can't talk about that fact without getting canceled. I can't say, hey, these slaves had a good relationship with their owners without getting
Because it's not true. Because it's just not true. It's not true. George Washington was not a father figure to his slaves.
Well, if you look up, like, I think it was Booker
47, let's see, 47 of George Washington's slaves tried to escape. Would you try to escape if you loved your master?
Maybe that one was wrong. I don't know. This was like a little bit on a podcast months ago. I don't really remember, but and I said I wasn't sure if it was Washington either in that interview at some point. But
well, George Washington
was bringing up is I'm not even allowed to have this conversation without.
What do you mean not allowed?
Nah, but I mean
the issue is not that you can't have this conversation. It's just that because it's such a sensitive topic, you have no idea how to cut through it efficiently.
Right.
You're just going at it with a fucking paddle, and you're wondering why the meat coming out all crazy.
Right.
And you're trying to serve it to people, and people be like, I didn't ask for a smashed raw burger. Yeah, people won't have an issue. They're going to complain. If you want to take on the difficult stuff, that's fine. Do your due diligence. When you were on that fucking podcast with Nick, you didn't do your due diligence.
Nope.
You just let some white supremacists come up there and ramble for a while about how black people are inferior and how slavery isn't a big deal. That's your problem. If I'm going to tackle a big subject like that, like in a serious tone, you best believe I'm going to do it properly. There's been plenty of times people are like, I have a talk about Palestine. I don't know shit about it, so I ain't going to jump on it. And I wouldn't be surprised if I'm like, hey man, Palestinians this or that, and folks got mad.
No, either side you're going to put people on.
People are going to be mad.
Whatever it is. Why? Because I don't know what I'm talking about.
Exactly.
This girl, I can't even. You can discuss anything. Do it in private. If you want to do it in public and you want to give spicy takes about how slavery was embellished, then you better have your receipts. And if people ask, you better stand on 10 on that.
I just wanted to know what your thoughts are on this. That's all.
Yeah, the thing is that, you know, she didn't stand on all 10 with it, you know, obviously because she knows that she's not educated regarding the shit that she talks about. And the thing is that initially she folded and she, you know, to a degree apologized because she understood where everybody was coming from. But then she got a battery in her back by a few conservative blacks that then started to, you know, comfort her, and she started to understand that, you know, no matter what you put up online, there's going to be a degree of people that agree with you, but those are an anecdotal examples of agreeance regarding what it is, the things that she said, which, you know, when you pressure test what she actually said versus what, you know, which is like what Ethan is doing right now, and you begin to ask questions of like, okay, well, describe exactly how it's over embellished. She doesn't want to do that. So what it is not talking about it is going to get you canceled. It's the degree of recklessness, again, I'll use that word again, and how it is that you choose to go about these conversations. For something so important to so many people, why just come out with it when you're not even asked about it? It doesn't make any sense to me, but, you know, it makes sense the more that you get to know her.
Yeah, I'm not, like, my channel isn't about slavery.
If it's not, then
why would you?
Right. Why would you bring on somebody who's a no white supremacist if your channel's not about that? That's your problem, stupid. It's like I can't say my thing is not a political channel, then I bring on fucking Joe Biden. And then he starts rattling off about Democratic policy.
Marriage is supposed to be, you know, for better or for worse, in sickness and in health. And
that's a part of the vow. That's a part of the vow. I've been to enough marriages. Enough of them marriages. Enough of them marriages, and you always choose to take that vow, that side of the vow, that part of the vow. What about the part of the vow where we talk about mutual respect? What about the part of the vow where you're talking about you're supposed to protect each other? What about the part of the vow where you're supposed to become one? No, you chuck all that shit out the window, and then you choose the one that you're like, hey, better or worse. This is the worst. Tough it out. That's not what the vow is. They don't go to church and be like, all right, for better or worse, for better or worse. For better or worse on 3. 1, 2, 3. Better or worse. And then they get married. That's not what happens.
And the majority of divorces nowadays, it's just, you know, when the girl just feels like leaving.
That's not true.
So, and well, you
it's
know,
just not true.
I've talked to hundreds of women.
The abuse of power and the risk for abuse and for people to get stuck in a horrible relationship situation, not just for them, but their kids, right? I mean, obviously, having your kids watch their mother get beat up. Mm-hmm. And oftentimes it's going to bleed.
Or the kids get watching their father get beat up. Like, it goes both ways.
I acknowledge that. It goes both ways. So both people have a right to, in my opinion, get divorced, because the alternative is one of the partners being stuck and, like,
do you think that's the
majority,
situation? Do you think that's the majority of cases?
A majority of cases of what? Divorce?
Of divorce.
25%. 25%.
What?
It's 25% based on statistics.
No, that's not what's in criminal court. It's like less than 10%. It actually followed through in criminal court.
Well, regardless, 10% is enough, don't you think?
No, I said less than 10% of the abuse cases of the 25%. So that's like.
Journal of Family Violence in 2014 found that approximately 25% of divorces in the United States involve domestic violence.
Right, but again, that's because the woman says that she was, because they're incentive.
Okay, but you're just saying stuff. You're just saying stuff. You don't actually know that to be true.
No, I do.
How?
I do. Like, okay, in the UK, there's a law that you get a free lawyer if
How does that prove that women are lying about violence?
No, because I'm saying that you can't. Okay, you can't prove it unless they go to criminal court, because criminal court is based off of evidence, where family court is based off of a balance of probabilities.
Which is also evidence. You can't just say your partner beats you without evidence. She's just saying the same shit. This girl's fucking stupid. This girl's really incredibly dumb. You can't go to family court, say your partner beats you, and then they just leave. That's not how it works. They have to have some evidence.
She's not dumb. She has 3 cassettes. And she's just playing the same one she played before.
Yo, it goes in reverse. Like, she doesn't know what she's talking about.
Dumb. She just rewind that bitch and played it back. That's
that you can't prove it unless you go to criminal court, because family court is based off of evidence.
Right, but they're not going to jail. It's just about the welfare of the kids, and you know, I mean, the people.
It's a crime if you're falsely accusing someone of abuse. I'm saying there's no, you can't. They only prove it in less than 10% of cases.
Okay,
court, because criminal court is based off of evidence, family court is not.
She just keeps saying that.
Man.
She just keeps saying that, and it's not true.
She's not dumb.
When dads win cases to get custody of their children, they're doing it based off evidence. They have to showcase evidence that the mother is sick or whatever. The same can be said the other way around. If they're saying the father's a deadbeat, they got to show he didn't pay his payments. They got to show written receipts. Like, it's just stupid.
So let's just say less than 10%. I'll just give you the benefit of the doubt on that. Still seems like enough to give people the option to leave. And this idea that women just leave whenever they want seems a little bit infantile, because people change, right? Especially when people get married young, which does happen. People change, people go through shit, people grow apart.
It's like almost even been watching our videos. Shout outs to you, brother. You getting the right arguments in. Let's see what happens. Congratulations. See, your researchers out here plagiarizing, but it's okay. I'm just playing. We didn't come up with this original thought. Other people have said it too. I'm just saying, we the ones who might have said on YouTube recently, get super hurdled. I'm just saying. Okay, just lonely things. We always want to talk about it. Give us some credit. Make sure. All right. You reference us. It's fine. Keep on. Do you think, King? She just looked like an idiot on most topics, as she normally does. Yeah.
The minute you went on Ethan Decline, you looked like a. It was done. It was done. I really thought this interview was about to be about high. Of course not.
I mean, it wasn't a bad faith interview.
That was not a bad face interview.
No, it wasn't.
What do you think Ethan was about to do? Make you shine bright like a diamond? Nah, you're not gonna shine bright like a diamond. You got the forehead of Rihanna, but it's not gonna happen. Okay, he's not gonna do that. He's gonna be like, man, he's gonna do what Ethan does. And on top of that, he's been shitting on the red pill community. You one of them, he gonna shit on you too.
True.
It's like, I'm not saying it's a bad faith interview, but come on. What happened there? That's what was supposed to happen. Well, I really thought that this. Fuck you mean?
Well, that's it. Anything else you want to say about Just Only Things?
Stay only.
Apparently. This girl about to hit 27. She's about to hit that break-off age where her value plummets off a cliff.
Technically, she already has. They say 25 often.
True.
So
I think she said 27 to give herself some time.
maybe.
Yeah. She's like, damn, I'm 26. I can't be saying 25.
I got to round it out.
I think in 1 year I can find a man.
I think like in 6 months you're gonna say 30.
Are you homeless? I'm a high-value woman. I think we're a good fit.
I just find it so interesting what has happened with the red pill over the past couple of months. You've seen those kind of rise to be the front face, but then in understanding kind of how they squander their opportunity, their thoughts, and how it casts shadows of a doubt onto those that stand by the movement or who came into it with very good intentions. It's just interesting to see what happens to it. You know what I mean? It's things like this would have never happened if Kevin was still alive. But, you know, it just goes to show different people with different incentives within life and what they're willing to do in order to maintain relevancy or to grab clout. And what also pains me is that within the space, it's all about holding people accountable. Any of the friends of a Just Pearly Things won't come out and say anything about this. Like true friends, remaining friends, they will never come out and say something regarding this because it's all teams at the end of the day. It's all teams, teammates, riding for each other, and there's not an air of accountability when it comes through that. It's just, what is my audience? Who are they? What is it that they believe in? And how can I best form fit these talking points so that my audience will continue to click on the button to get the ad dollars and the revenue? How do I know? As a content creator, it goes through my mind. How do I look at this content and give it an RP talking point because I'm in that space, as opposed to looking at this content and thinking, what is it do I actually really feel about this? It's kind of a game that a lot of these grifters play. But over here, it's a little bit different because there is not a word that have ever left my mouth that I do not intrinsically believe to the core of my soul. And I'm gonna keep on giving you guys value throughout that. All right? Questions, comments, concerns? Y'all already know what to do. Mediocre tutorials and reviews at gmail.com. You know, I really wonder what her management is thinking through this whole H3H3 thing. It's probably something like this. Well, H3H3 is probably on this side of the content creator's coin. None of our followers are ever going to see the content that they are talking about. So let's just keep on doing all these interviews. When instead, I think that they should take a look at their talent and decide if she's the right person for the job. Until next time, YouTube.